Okay. Well, it is 7 o'clock and I don't want to run too far behind schedule. So how about we get started? Does that sound good? So yes, welcome, hello, and thanks for joining us on this fine December evening. I don't know about where you are, but today it was like spring-like in Toronto. Scary, but also lovely. So my name is Stephanie McKechnie. I'm the editor of Untethered, and I, along with my co-editor, Elena, will be your host this evening. We have a great lineup of readers for you, but before we get on to those fantastic readings, I just wanted to remind everyone about a few things. So first of all, the new issue, volume 6.1, is available for order on our website. So you can head on over to the virtual launch hub on our website. I think Megan's going to paste a link in the chat to grab your copy. So it's $18, all taxes and shipping included. We had to raise our prices a little bit, but trying to give you a deal still. We also are, for the first time, really excited to be able to offer you a different way to enjoy and support Untethered, and that's through subscriptions. So you can grab a 1-year subscription, that's 2 issues for $30, or you can grab a 2-year subscription of 4 issues for $60. And while you're over there on the virtual launch hub, you can also pick up your raffle tickets. I don't know if you've never been to an Untethered launch before, you might not know, but we always hold a big raffle draw. So this year is no different. We have some incredible literary and otherwise prizes for you, including subscriptions to Tattle Creek, The Fiddlehead, Arc Poetry, Room Magazine, Shameless Magazine. And then we also have a $50 gift certificate from Toronto-based cooperatively owned sex shop Come As You Are. And if you're not in Toronto and you want that prize, don't worry, they ship across Canada. So tickets will be available for purchase until tomorrow. And then I'll be pulling for prizes via Instagram around 7 p.m. tomorrow. So you can grab your tickets. It's 1 ticket for $2. 3 tickets for $5, or my very long arm's length of tickets for just $10. And if my arms haven't shrunk since last year, that's 15 tickets. So you can head on over to the launch hub and grab those. And then also just some house etiquette. You know, we're on Zoom. If everyone can turn on their cameras if you feel comfortable, so we're not all just kind of like staring into a screen full of black boxes, that would be great. And we encourage you to use the chat function to sing your praises to the readers after they're done. And in lieu of applause, which tend to get really muddied over Zoom, we can use some like jazz hands or big old smiles. So I think that that's everything I wanted to go over before we started.
I'm not seeing anything.
So how about we get to our first reader? And just a reminder, if everyone can just keep their microphones off so that we can have the speaker be highlighted. Great, okay. So our first reader tonight is Elizabeth Harrison. Just making sure you were there, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Harrison is from St. Andrews, West Ontario, and she lives and works in Mississauga. Please help me give a warm, spirited finger welcome to Elizabeth.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. So thank you, Elena and Stephanie, for giving me the opportunity to read today and for featuring my poem in the issue. So I'm going to read the piece that's featured in the issue called Roommates/Lately. As I come in, the other door will close, as if the wind and not a person chose to leave the room so open in their wake. The curtains in the kitchen like a flag, you slip and curl away against the cold. Standing by, I'll run the water warm, a minute on my fingers in the light. We hollowed out these watercolor rooms. Our overtures were eager once, but failed. Our tired eyes, the winters of our backs turn away, betray politer lips. It's chasing bills, infuriating silence, the mystery of stamps announcing scene. The space underneath when I'm alone, the broken lines of people in between. I'll wipe the dirty counter till it's clean, a cloth, a little soap, rising steam, in the same place over and over. So that's the first piece. I have time to read a second piece as well. So I'm going to read another one called A Kiss. A child of warmth, lips, lilies, blood wilting red. A swarm of moths, soft, slow, all I see is red. A thumbprint crush, the petal of a rose under pressure. Plum blue, a bruise, I was born blue from red. Searching for the air, froth touch, an urgency. Banging at the rocks, spray shock, a red wave. Underneath the neck, surrendered bare, this close to me. Giving in, the armor where it's weak, undefended. Disintegrating thoughts, a mind fuzz, a red fray. The history of trauma, yours and mine, the red we made. The red they gave us down the line, lives ancestral red. Stories, hearts unwind, another language made of red. Windy sunburned, warm cheeks, bloom skin on skin. And that's it for my reading. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I absolutely loved the hollowed out our watercolor rooms. I fell in love with that line.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So up next to our virtual stage is Hollay Ghadery. Hollay is a writer living in small town Ontario. She has her MFA in creative writing from the University of Guelph. Her fiction, nonfiction, and poetry have been published in various literary journals, including the Malahat Review, Broom Magazine, Carousel, the Antigonish Review, Grain, and the Fiddlehead. Fuse, her memoir in mixed race identity and mental health, was released by Guernica Editions, Mirrorland imprint in spring 2021. Please welcome Hollay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to Untethered for including me in this wonderful issue. I'm just in love with it, and I read through the proof and just was so impressed with everybody in the artwork. So I'm really honored to be a part. So I'm just going to read the poem that appears in Untethered, which, contrary to my mother's belief, has nothing to do with her. So it's called Why Fatima Killed Her Mother. I got to know how yen pak smells cooking before I was 5, how pomegranate tastes plucked from the top of a tree by my mother's own hand, each seed, each drop of blood. And there wasn't a time when I didn't know what a prick looked like, how it felt to be broken in, like edge of knife, like back of knife, like tattooing of blue color connecting my eyebrows in a line. The old woman was always lying, and it would be good if I could say how awful it was, how crime doesn't pay, but I spread out my sheets, and they're covered with ash and palau. I open my legs and spill rose water. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Hollay, so much. I remember Elena read that poem first, and she like immediately sent it to me. She was like, "You gotta read this," and I loved it too. So I'm so glad that we got an opportunity to publish it. Our next reader is Natalie Hanna. Natalie Hanna is a queer, disabled, Ottawa-born lawyer of Middle Eastern descent. She runs Battle Axe Press Poetry, encouraging feminist work. She was a past administrative director of the Sawdust Reading Series and an Art Poetry Magazine board member. Hannah is the author of 12 chapbooks, including titles with Above Ground Press, Baseline Press, and Collusion Books. Her poetry, interviews, and commentary have appeared in print and online in Canada and the United States. Her poem, Light Conversation, received honorable mention in Art Poetry Magazine's 2019 Diana Bregner Prize. And you can find more information about her literary work at her website, which is nhannawriting.wordpress.com. And I'll just have Megan paste that into the chat so you can find it if you'd like. please help me welcome Natalie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much to Elena and Stephanie for this issue. And much like the others, there's something really particularly beautiful when you get to see the proofs and you get to look through everyone's poems. I'm really thankful to be with, to appear in an issue with so many wonderful writers. I apologize, I've got a little bit of a froggy voice today. I'm going to read you two poems tonight. The first is Conyer Clayton's poem from this issue. Unfortunately, Conyer couldn't be with us tonight, but she's given me the go-ahead to share her poem called Once a Week for Eternity. If each blank calendar square held the possibility of conspicuous rapture, would I still pencil in the allergist? What is transcendence compared to chronic rhinitis? The post-nasal drips of the divine. I'm now attuned to the presence of dust mites in my pillows, cloud-like ethereal dust raising hives of potential. I'll stay at my sterile sanctuary. There is only so much God I can witness in between sneezing fits. January's been suctioned, swabbed, pricked with blue pen marks and grass stains and needles paved over pollen-covered bees' legs stumbling on my liquid path towards communion. And the second poem I'll read is my own from the issue, called Out of Order. Bad girl, Mama says, as I make mud pies and skin my knees, ever after condemned to overalls. Bad, she says, of unruly knots that twist themselves to vex her tearing comb as her knee vice holds me on the floor before the sofa. In my sleep, she comes with scissors to cut Samson curls, to trim claws I need to deflect the razor-thin nails of schoolyard nemesis digging into my scarred arms. I grow like a fight. A small affront at first leads to escalation. Tremendous harms land on me, fire from me harder when confined to corners. I grow like climbing nightshade, poison and poisoned by the touch of others on me. Bad consortium of bigger girls trying to become untouchably tough. Bad, she screams into the phone when I won't come home, give myself to dangerous lovers. This is a good place to go under the dense cover of unacceptable, as I drown inside impassable skin. Bad girl, she says. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Natalie. And thank you so much for reading Conyer's poem. We appreciate that as well. I just love, I grow like a fight. That line stood out for me from the very beginning. And I even remember Stephanie, same thing. We were like, this is great. So our next reader is Clay Everest. Clay Everest is a poet from Halifax who now lives in St. John's. His work has previously appeared in Untethered, The Parenthetical, and Riddle Fence. His manuscript, No Subject for the Inexperienced, was awarded the 2020 Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union Fresh Fish Award. Clay Everest likes boats. Please help us welcome Clay to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Elena and Stephanie, for putting together just a lovely event. It's so nice it's been a while since I've been to a reading, so it's nice to be out again. I'm going to read my poem Fog from this most recent issue. Fog. When it consumed George's Island, we would look for shelter. It became our little game, get indoors before the fog reached us. We could never run, just walk quickly to the nearest Tim's and watch as mist devoured a freighter, Murphy's, and Theodore's before breaking against the window. When you moved to town, you imagined the fog could carry you through time, where you'd find an abandoned newspaper that read 1917 and hear the excited gasps of people watching a ship on fire. When I was a kid, I told you, I used to take the stairs on all four. I like to pretend our house had hit an iceberg and the basement door was a watertight compartment. The only way to escape was scramble up the stairs and slam the door before the water reached me. Would you make it, you ask? Sometimes. Thank you.
Thanks, Clay. Sorry, I thought I was muted. Thanks for that. I remember reading that poem for the first time and you brought me right back to the west coast of Nova Scotia when I was watching the fog roll in. So thank you. Okay, next up to the stage, our next reader is Michelle Poirier Brown. Michelle Poirier Brown is an internationally published poet and performer, currently living in the Lekwungen territory in Victoria, BC. She is Nehi Hoa Iskew. I think I might have butchered that. I'm so sorry, we just went over it. And a citizen of the Métis Nation. Her poem Wake won Prism International's 2019 Earl Burney Prize. Other poetry has appeared in or is forthcoming from ARC, CV2, Grain, the Greensboro Review, Amherst Journal, Plentitude, The Puritan, and Vallum. Several chapbooks and anthologies, and the 2021 song cycle, The Length of a Day, composed by Jeffrey Ryan. Her debut book, You Might Be Sorry You Read This, is forthcoming from the University of Alberta Press in the Robert Croach series in 2022. And you can find Michelle at skyblanket.ca. Please help us welcome Michelle to the stage.
Wow, thank you so much. It is incredibly exciting to be here. The poem I'm going to read is one actually that dates from the 1980s, back when I was closer in age to the rest of incredibly talented people participating in this issue. This is wonderful. I love it. You know, I've only been, I think Wake, the poem you just referenced, may have been either my first or second poem published. I didn't know if I could write. And then in retirement, I just started mailing things out. And as my confidence built, I thought, you know, I've treasured this poem since I wrote it a very long time ago. And so I edited it and with trepidation sent it in, and you chose to publish it. I'm over the moon. So from the 1980s. The day the roses came was an ordinary day. My lawyer called. Your mother sent a casserole by post. You brought laundry from the basement, past me in the hall. Didn't even glance at the roses in my hand, that passionate display, all that color. In your separate bedroom, sorted socks from sheets. Flowers come, meanings go. I placed them on the table in the hall where the mirror doubled their effect. And then I'm going to read a second one. This is from the book, You Might Be Sorry You Read This, that will come out this spring from University of Alberta Press. It's called God Was a Baby. It was Christmas Eve. The Christmas Eve astronauts read from Genesis as they circled the moon, and the world was agape, their eyes upward, everything exactly as it was yesterday, but the axis of knowledge tilted. We walked in the street, the stars sprinkled hard-packed tracks, no less sparkled than the fresh drifts brimming the sidewalks. I slid my boots along the wide ridges, imagined pirouettes, blades parting the slick surface, my pleated skirt a glimmering sheath beneath scarf and mitten stuffed coat. God was a baby. A marvel circled the moon. The world was made of diamonds. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Merci, Michelle. Thank you so much for reading that to us. And I'm so glad that we could give that poem a home decades later. I was so surprised when you and I had that email exchange. So I feel really proud that we get to share that with everybody. Our next reader is Alison Hoy. Alison Hoy is a writer, scholar, and scholar living in Vancouver, Canada. Her work intersects memoir writing with queer and feminist theories of feeling and embodiment, and explores themes of sex, queer identity, illness, psychic life, and anorexia. She is a vocational rehabilitation counselor with the Canadian Mental Health Association. Please help us welcome Alison to the virtual stage.
Hi, thanks, Elena. Thanks, Untethered, and all the other readers today. I'm going to read the opening section of my nonfiction piece called A Queer Pandemic. I don't sleep well at the best of times, but in the pandemic, my insomnia has reached a new level of excruciating. I suspect it is not surprising, probably sounds pretty understandable. I'm sure I'm not alone. These days when I'm really struggling, my therapist tells me that it can be helpful to try and think about other periods in my life. Not when I was different necessarily, but when things happened differently for me. The winter that I turned 35, I slept so soundly, deep into PhD dissertation writing and caught up in the spiraling hot vortex of a crush. I used my days to think my way into erotic feeling, to trace out the edges of ecstasy, a finger circling a tiny throbbing pulse. Hungry for everything, literally starved, starving. In the mornings, I carried out my food rituals, artificial sweetener poured into cottage cheese, apples skinned and dissected and slathered with peanut butter, cereals dumped out and combined into new, porrish flavors. I couldn't take in anything, could digest nothing. The impossibility of it felt exhausting. Freezing and soaked with sweat, by noon I would crack open a window, breathe in the heady, cloying fog of cinnamon buns baking in the cafe downstairs, finger fuck myself until I came. I remember the time that you licked my pussy for infinity while I lay propped up in bed eating ice cream, some combination of chocolate and salted something or other. You looked at me while your tongue moved up and down, slow, gentle. Pointed flicks matched cold spoon flicks. On my bedspread, you laid out the world and I couldn't be bothered. I went to space. I pulled out my iPhone, got online, drooled over buns dripping with cream cheese frosting. I willed myself not to come and did anyway. After, in your kiss, I tasted the warm, spicy goo of my failing. Before I was able to soothe my screaming anxiety enough to write about it, for 2 full years, I hurled ideas, inchoate and disorganized, into the void. Food, sex, eating, fucking. Not writing, I took it all into my mouth. My mouth was my whole body then, a pit, open, wide. Desire is an urge to devour. There is no real expression of it that doesn't imply destruction. Someone said you're cute, but they didn't trust me to know what it meant, so they erased it with, I could just eat you up. I said, does it feel tender, your impulse to break me apart in your mouth? Outside the store, people wait on painted circles spaced 6 feet apart. I watched a man exiting, arms weighted with food in plastic bags. He dumped everything onto the sidewalk, gathered it hurriedly into a backpack. 20 plus tubs of chocolate ice cream. People look and look away. The baby in the stroller behind me, meanwhile, has a face of unruly emotions. He looks directly at me, lets out an exhilarated shriek, stuffs one fat foot into his mouth. I smile and think, kid, do I understand you? But his mother turns to me in half apology. It's past his lunchtime, she says. Thank you.
So good. Thank you, Allison. I think when we read that poem, it was before the summer, so we're still so in the thick of the pandemic, and I was just like, finally, like someone gets me. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so before we can get into the second half of the readings, I know some of you joined a little late, so you might not have heard me say that you can go onto our website's virtual launch hub. There's a link in the description, or in the chat, I mean, to grab a copy of the new issue, which is $18, taxes and shipping included, or you can grab your raffle tickets. We are selling one raffle ticket for $2, 3 raffle tickets for $5, or my very long arms length worth of tickets for $10. And again, last year that was about 15 tickets, so it's definitely the best deal. And we will be pulling for those raffle prizes tomorrow on Instagram around 7 p.m. And don't worry if you're not on Instagram, still grab your tickets. I'll be emailing all the winners so that they can claim their prizes. Okay, so I think that that's everything I just wanted to mention again. So let's get back to the readings. Okay, so first up on our second half is Anna Ralph. Anna Ralph is a writer and storyteller currently living in Montreal, Quebec, and she's probably drinking a coffee right now. I wonder if that's true because it's evening. She obtained her BA in philosophy from Concordia University. Her prose explores life's syrupy, sweet nostalgia and its sharp inevitabilities. You can find her work scattered across the internet if you look in the right place. Please welcome Anna.
Thanks so much. Yeah, just a quick thank you to Untethered, Stephanie, Elena, for putting together this beautiful event, for putting together this beautiful issue, and for giving my piece a home. It's very close to my heart, so thank you for that. And of course, thank you to all the beautifully talented readers reading tonight. So I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my creative nonfiction piece called Eulogy 2. My 7-year-old fingers are about to get crushed by a van's sliding door. Dad yelps, making a sound I only heard that once, anticipating the worst before I slip my hand out at the last minute. I pay for our meal, placing my credit card on the bill. He laughs appreciatively at the idea that his daughter is paying for something, like he did something right. We drive by a construction site. He's curious and pulls over. Late night pizzas, car washes. He is familiar to me only in pieces, and soon I fear I will have to create him from scratch. I find him daily in the mirror and shared jaw lines and cheekbones, in the smell of dry cleaning and of leather car seats on a hot day. I couldn't have anticipated the distortion and fragmentation, the incoming wave of an entire life's worth of memories that never seems to crash as I scramble and scour my brain for the ones that will keep me afloat. What do you take with you? Asks a part of my psyche where guilt grows roots, coursing through the rest of me in ways that I can hardly trace. Crueler still, do you remember? Do you remember anything at all? Similar to the Bible, my life's fulcrum is the untimely and unfair death of a single Jewish man. We unfurl his life during his Shiva, sitting on chairs too small amidst a foggy series of sympathies. I've appropriated stories and moments of his that I never witnessed. Taking apart his parents' car, a sepia-toned moment wearing Converse at a party, running a half marathon in the 80s. None of these memories are mine, but they help me put them together. I recall him in broad strokes. He is all thick glasses, fresh morning shaves, and afternoon stubble, mischievous laughs and perfectly aligned smiles. Smart. He was smart, my brother, my uncle says. He punctuates a lot of his sentences with my brother now, like he is finishing a prayer. Ours is a religion of repetition, after all, of call and response. Our prayers and stories are repeated daily, weekly, yearly, until their meanings leave marks. I think of the collective hum of those who daven by heart, who open their prayer books and flip pages not out of necessity, but habit. It's the relentless repetition of the thing that ultimately relieves us of the need to remember it, internalizing it like any other function that keeps us alive, a heartbeat, a blink, a breath. There's energy that must be reserved for remembering, a lifelong task and an already heavy burden for a culture that shares a foundational fear of being erased, and it shows in the stones we place to weigh down souls, in 7 Shiva days, in the years of mourning and untrimmed beards, in the repeated recitation of the mourner's Kaddish. We drag things on to keep you here for just a little bit longer. A masterclass in carrying death through life, all in the hopes that one day you will become our heartbeats, our blinks, our breaths. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing that piece with us. That one hit me right in the feels. So thank you. Our next reader is Katie Cameron. Katie Cameron is a writer, activist, and queer white settler living on the stolen and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq, Truro, Nova Scotia. Their work has appeared in Plentitude. She participated in the Alistair MacLeod Mentorship Program through Writers Federation of Nova Scotia as an apprentice writer, 2019 to 2020. Please help us welcome Katie to the virtual stage.
Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm feeling grateful and thankful to be here, and yeah, you can have this poem be included in among all of your works. The other folks included in this this issue, and then also to Elena and Stephanie as well. So I'm going to be reading Nodded, which is the piece from the issue. Nodded. I've been knitting, needles clicking, come to a snarl, pull out the stitches. Start again. Teachers tell me I have a tight pencil grip. My brain promises it will stop trundling all day, will stop grabbing at the yarn. I follow a strand stuck to the bottom of my heels, clicking along the sticky floor of the bar. My friend pulls me by the hand through the loud moving throng, finds her boyfriend. Balled up, panging in my stomach as I see two girls dance, their hips pressed close, tied around my tongue when two friends kiss each other on the lipstick. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. I love that last line, kissing each other on the lipstick. Yeah, pleasure to read that. Okay, our next reader is Jessica Ann Robinson. Jessica Ann Robinson is a Toronto writer and, more tellingly, a Libra. Her poetry has been featured in anthologies and literary journals nationally and internationally, including Sand Journal, After the Pause, The Heart House Review, and Room Magazine. She curates a weekly poetry series for Fairwall Design House, and you can find her anywhere at @hey_Jessica, and we'll put that in the chat so you can follow. Please welcome Jessica to the virtual stage.
Hey everyone, echoing what everyone has said, it's such a pleasure to be here tonight and in this issue, not least of all because there are so many readers and also other people in the issue who, when I come across them in other lit journals, I think, ooh, I have to get that one. So it's really cool to be published alongside them in what is really a standout collection put together by Elena and Stephanie. I'm going to read the two poems that are published in this issue. And the first one is Lemon Peels, which is very much a pandemic poem. Lemon Peels. You're a real peach, and he means it too. When he comes home, my blue toes are frozen. He finds me standing in front of the open refrigerator, zest under my fingernails. He sucks it out, one finger at a time. I don't blink. He starts with the lemons again, sitting on the counter and dropping the peels to rot. Licks sugar off the rim, sour sweet teeth coating, yellow grin, dog-eared look to him. He is smooth like punch, somewhere between a martini and his kid sister. Says he might go home for the weekend, citrus on his breath, but I don't hold him to it. All that's left in the fridge these days is shriveled grapes in a container that leaks, the juice tacky on the bottom shelf, the print of his puckered lip on the plastic. No seed to plant, no root to rip out and parch, nothing to look back at, if I choose to look at all. And My second piece is also from this issue, and it's written for my partner's late grandmother who passed away earlier this year. Learning Portuguese in pieces for Jenny. So this can also be a language of mourning. Until now, I've only known its tenderness. The first word I learned, saudade, a missing we don't speak of here. It still sounds like love to me. Too often, the language reverses itself in my mouth, my tongue a gymnast that can't stick the landing. Our lessons are always brief. These days, I pack synonyms in my pockets wherever I go. I repeat the words wrong, tongue fumbling the routine on the balance beam. The second word sticks, muito. I love you more, more, more. With every new word, I ask for a story. How the duck falls into the hunter's trap just as he planned, and how the hunter loves the duck, and how one day he dives into the pond just to be nearer. Mostly, he tells me about his grandmother's garden, the fruits she loved and the flowers she grew, how his hands first knew work in the dirt. He tells me of her strength and her pride, how she would point at her old photos and say, "What a big fish." My tongue does back handsprings. When no one is looking, I ask for more words to stuff in my pockets. Coberto de luto, we are covered in mourning, he says. He doesn't mind that I can't roll my R's. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I remembered your poems, long after I'd read hundreds of others. And I was also, congratulations on your Frog Hollow Press upcoming chapbook. That's in your updated bio. So we'll, anyway, congratulations. So our next reader is Charmaine Cadeau. Born in Toronto, Charmaine now lives and works in Louisville, North Carolina. She is an English professor at High Point University, where she teaches creative writing and literature and serves as the advisor for Apogee magazine. She has published 2 collections of poetry, What You Used to Wear, Goose Lane Editions, and Placeholder with Brick Books. The most recent of which won the Brockman Campbell Book Award and the Relit Award. Her newest book, Skytale, was handmade with the support of Jack Pine Press. Please help us welcome Charmaine.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Elena and Stephanie. It's been such a pleasure tonight. I really enjoyed reading through the proofs, and it's especially wonderful to hear the work that you all are reading tonight. It's making me terribly homesick for Toronto and Eastern Canada, being in North Carolina now. I was thinking, Michelle, of the Greensboro Review, because that's very near to me. And also of being in North Carolina on this day. There was a really famous launch in 1903 with the Wright brothers taking off for the first time in Kitty Hawk. So I thought I'd share that as part of tonight's launch. I'm going to read the poem that's in the issue. Everything's all right. His last summer, we watched robins repair their nest and called it healing in the gap. Between the boards of the deck, the bowl swelled with eggs, frail as any private thing, and yet held, as we were, under shell of sky. I don't remember the business of those days, just sitting above the business of life, with toast and coffee and books, and taking turns to pry. Their huddled, blue-lidded bodies grew fat and bored, and they left, save one who hung upside down with its leg tangled in plastic twine, dead and useless, except for not letting go when it should, clawed foot poised as if holding out for something small and important to marvel at, a heart or a relic. He pulled down the nest, cupped it in his 3-fingered hand, and I set to work, looping over and under until it took off, hungry for its own survival, a heart or a relic. A few weeks before he died, he called to say goodbye, but didn't mean it. and I held fast to the phone while my legs gave out and said all the right things, half moving with the calmness and certainty of untying a wild thing, the other half losing all sense beyond feeling. The way out is back, over, through. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Charmaine. There's so many layers to that poem. I feel like I hear something like totally, not totally different, but I hear different things every time I read it. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful language. Our next reader, oh, and this is our next and last reader, but certainly not the least, is A.A. Parr. A.A. Parr is a writer, artist, and entrepreneur who calls both Sault Ste. Marie and Toronto home. She holds a specialized honors BFA from York University and is the founder and managing editor of Type A Media, publishing fresh, diverse voices from Northern Ontario and beyond. She is the author of What Lasts Beyond the Burning from Nightingale and Sparrow Press, and a weekly poetry series written for and about strangers, I Wrote You This Poem. Her creative works have been seen on stages, in galleries, and in print throughout North America over the past 2 decades. In her work, she seeks to explore difficult themes in an attempt to shine a necessary light into our darkest crevices. For more information on her creative works, you can visit her website that Megan will paste in the chat there. Please help me welcome A.A.
I can figure out how to unmute. Sorry about that. Thank you for the welcome, and thank you all for this evening. This has been such a delight and a pleasure. As someone else said, I really am feeling homesick and missing Toronto and these sorts of events. Although I love it here in the Soo, where it is certainly not spring right now. So I'm going to read my piece from the issue, which is called Making Mountains. I hold this lake in my 2 hands, make mountains out of fingers folded, and the sun. It echoes through each wave, turns honeyed light of evening into contoured memory. And at last, this water breaks free, trickles down my arms, outstretched. I think of how the minnows would flit between our fingers, how quickly the lake turns to river, to stream, and how I wanted to want you. Thank you. Just a little piece.
Thank you so much. It's incredible. Again, I wish I had your memory, or I don't know how you do it. You got all the poems in your brain. Incredible. The first time I heard A speak was at our like 3 issues ago launch, and it was an incredible long poem that they just performed off the cuff. It was something to see. Okay, well, thank you to all the readers who were able to come out and read for us. We really enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did. Thank you to everybody else who came out to join us here. I know it's getting like, it's right in the thick of the holidays, so I really appreciate everyone making time to be here with us. I want to also thank all the publications who donated to our raffle, and all the amazing folks who helped us put this issue together. There's a long list of folks on our masthead that I don't have time to read right now, but I do want to give a special shout out to Elena, who was very patient while we put this issue together while I was halfway across the country and living out of a van. I also want to give a special shout out to Molly Desson, who was our layout designer who made this beautiful book. And also another special shout out to Megan Cole, who's been helping us run the tech side of things tonight and made sure everything went smoothly. So again, I just want to remind everybody, don't forget to head on over to the virtual launch. Again, we'll put the link in the chat. You can grab your copy of this new issue for $18. You can grab a subscription to Untethered for $30. You can grab your raffle tickets for all of those amazing prizes. And again, we're going to be selling raffle tickets until tomorrow. So I would recommend you hop on now and buy them. But if you forget or if you're busy, you can still buy them tomorrow. And we'll be pulling for prizes at around 7 p.m. on Instagram. And again, if you don't have Instagram, don't worry. I'll be emailing everybody. Okay, I think that was it. What an amazing night. Thank you everyone for coming out. And maybe if you like want to stick around and like chat, you totally can. But the event is now over. Thank you, everybody.